The construct, it's incredible. It's large, it's massive.
Wow.
This discovery was never part of the plan. For more than 2 centuries, Oak Island has guarded its secrets with collapsing shafts, engineered flood tunnels, and tragedies that left 6 men dead. Every attempt to break through ended the same way: failure, frustration, silence. Until now. Deep below the surface, beyond the money pit, beyond the booby-trapped tunnels, a sealed structure has finally been revealed. And when the camera slipped through a narrow opening and illuminated what lay inside, everything changed. Because this isn't treasure in the way people imagined. It's something far more powerful. What they uncovered points to a presence on Oak Island centuries earlier than recorded history allows. And whoever built this didn't simply hide valuables. They constructed a defensive masterpiece around it. A chamber protected by layers of engineering so precise, so advanced, that modern specialists are still debating how it could have been accomplished with the technology of that time. Ask yourself, if this wasn't meant to be found, who went to such extraordinary lengths to conceal it? What was so important that it required traps, misdirection, and underground architecture? And why are some experts suddenly choosing their words very carefully, or not speaking at all? Stay with me, because once you see what's waiting inside that chamber, you may start to realize Oak Island isn't just the site of a treasure hunt anymore. It could be a locked vault of suppressed history. And before we go any further, make sure you subscribe, because this story is far from over, and what happens next might change everything. Now, let's go underground. A stone doorway. Even after Spanish coins, a medieval cross, and centuries-old wooden platforms, this discovery has shaken Rick and Marty Lagina. Years of drilling and heartbreak have made them cautious. But this feels different. Rick can almost see the pattern forming, every artifact aligning like pieces of a massive, unsettling blueprint. Marty, grounded as ever, studies the structure itself. Reinforced timber, layered stone, calculated support systems. This wasn't a hiding place for scraps. This was protection for something significant, something that may have mattered far beyond this island. And that's what makes everyone uneasy. This wasn't accidental. It wasn't primitive. It was deliberate, skilled, and built to endure. The breakthrough came near the eastern swamp, a spot earlier teams brushed off as meaningless. The Laginas never accepted that. They've long suspected the island is one giant distraction, a web of tunnels meant to mislead and exhaust anyone searching. This time, it wasn't luck. It was technology. Advanced radar mapping revealed a structured outline beneath the surface, a layout, a starting point. Then the drilling began. Narrow, carefully angled boreholes to prevent collapse. When the probe camera finally dropped into the darkness, it showed the unthinkable. Intact stone walls, layered construction, timber beams untouched by flooding. Not just ancient, preserved. Decades ago, this would have sounded impossible. But modern imaging doesn't guess. It confirms. Drills roared, soil was cleared, history peeled back layer by layer, wooden supports emerged, still solid, stones placed with astonishing precision. Nearly 80 feet down, then a sharp westward turn, they struck something. Not rubble, not loose rock. A barrier, smooth, almost unnervingly smooth, crafted from a type of granite streaked with dark mineral veins not found anywhere nearby. Iron fasteners embedded at perfect intervals, hand-forged, now corroded by centuries. This was not nature. They had reached the outer face of the chamber. And then something strange happened. A vibration, subtle at first, then stronger. Instruments flickered. One surface sensor failed. Another spiked wildly. Pressure readings surged along the southern edge of the site. The team froze. Data flooded the monitors. Something below, or around them, was shifting. For the first time, Oak Island didn't feel like an old mystery. It felt reactive. They pressed on. What began as a tunnel has evolved into something far more complex. Radar and probe scans now show branching pathways, deliberate offshoots splitting from the main shaft. Some drop deeper. Others twist at exact angles, forming patterns too precise to be natural. This isn't a random cavity. It's a system. Parallel corridors, right angles, repeating measurements, architectural symmetry buried underground. It looks less like a passage and more like protection. That's when the old whispers resurface, the Templar connection. For generations, Oak Island has been linked to the Knights Templar, the secretive order rumored to have fled Europe with sacred relics and immense wealth. Records suggest Atlantic crossings. Ancient maps hint at Nova Scotia. French artifacts have surfaced on the island before. Skeptics roll their eyes. Historians hesitate. But faced with a calculated underground grid carved deep into bedrock, laughter fades. Then there's the trapdoor theory. For years, some have believed a false floor lies somewhere beneath the island, perhaps above the real chamber, perhaps above nothing. One wrong move could trigger collapse. One careless dig could erase everything instantly. Imagine reaching the final layer, only to activate destruction instead of discovery. A vault designed not just to hide, but to defend itself. Recent imaging adds fuel to that fear. Two distinct floor levels appear within the chamber zone. Solid mass above, hollow space below. That's not how natural caves behave. Could it be a false floor? No one wants to test that theory the hard way. Excavation stopped immediately. Instead, ground-penetrating sonar scanned from multiple angles. The results were even more unsettling. Metal signatures, small, ancient, positioned precisely near the chamber walls. Possibly hinges, possibly bracing mechanisms. Definitely intentional. If the trapdoor theory holds true, this structure was never meant to be entered. It was designed to fail. Not through age, not through erosion, but by purpose. And maybe that purpose is still active, because Oak Island has resisted discovery before, and it may not be finished yet. From the late 1700s onward, every determined excavation on Oak Island has ended the same way. Chaos. Shafts cave in without warning. Seawater surges through hidden flood tunnels and swallows entire dig sites in minutes. Tools vanish. Artifacts go missing. It almost feels personal, like the island refuses to be disturbed. And the unsettling part? The warnings may have been there from the start. While storms battered the team above ground, another clue surfaced near the swamp. One that may connect directly to the underground trap system. Beneath layers of mud, they uncovered a level stone pathway, carefully arranged, almost like an ancient road pressed into the earth. Some dismissed it as natural formation, until Gary Drayton swept his detector across it. Iron signals lit up beneath the stones. What if that road was never meant for travel? What if it was camouflage, hiding mechanisms below? The island doesn't look random anymore. It looks engineered, like a fortress disguised as landscape. As they wrestled with the chamber's defenses underground, fresh clues across the island began forming a larger, and far more disturbing, pattern. Every artifact, no matter how small, points to the same conclusion. Someone powerful was here. A very long time ago. On Lot 5, an area that baffled researchers for years, Gary's detector erupted again. From the soil emerged a hammered bronze coin, roughly 500 years old. Here's the issue. Hammered coins in Europe were largely replaced by machine-minted currency by the late 1400s. That means this coin was already outdated before the so-called money pit was even rumored to exist. And then it got stranger. Another coin surfaced, copper, possibly Roman or Byzantine. Experts dated it somewhere between 300 BC and 600 AD. Think about that. A 2,000-year-old Roman coin on a tiny island off North America's coast. Metal analysis revealed silver and arsenic content consistent with pre-1500 metallurgy. That single artifact alone fractures the accepted timeline of exploration, and it ties to something else, a cobbled roadway structure in the swamp that mirrors ancient Roman road construction found in Portugal, historically linked to the Knights Templar. The pieces weren't just fitting together, they were aging backward. Then came the horseshoe. Near the same stone pathway, the team uncovered a small, hand-forged horseshoe. An expert dated it to the early 1400s, over 600 years old, possibly the oldest metal object ever recovered from that swamp, even older than the Roman coin. That means a horse may have stood on Oak Island centuries before official history claims anyone arrived. A Roman-era coin. A medieval horseshoe. A 500-year-old European artifact. So, who was here? The evidence wasn't limited to metal. Carved stones began surfacing, strange markings etched into rock. One symbol showed a circle with a central dot intersected by a cross. Identical carvings appear at 12th century Templar sites in Portugal. Even more curious was a carving of a goose, a mark historically associated with stonemasons connected to the Templars. Not decoration. A signature. Not random scratches. A message. From ancient coins to medieval ironwork and symbolic stone markers, the island isn't whispering anymore. It's declaring something. This is no longer just excavation. It's confrontation. After the granite barrier trembled, the team braced for disaster. Instead, an eerie calm settled in. The ancient iron fasteners, weakened by centuries, finally gave way. A section of polished stone collapsed inward. An opening formed. Cameras descended first. Then cautious eyes followed. The chamber was real, roughly 20 by 30 feet. A domed ceiling supported by massive timber beams blackened with age. Along the walls were evenly spaced alcoves, each holding objects, but not treasure in the traditional sense. No mountains of gold, no jewel-filled chests. Instead, scroll tubes sealed in hardened wax. Heavy wooden trunks reinforced with thick iron bands, too large for a small crew to maneuver easily. Cloth-wrapped bundles so old they crackled under the camera lights. And at the center stood a stone pedestal. Resting atop it was a square object encased in thick, crude glass. The camera edged closer. A manuscript. Its pages faded beyond easy reading. Its binding fragile, undeniably ancient. Beside it lay a ceremonial metal object, cross-like in shape, but not Christian. The design felt older, stranger, etched with symbols resembling Phoenician or possibly North African script. If authentic, the implications are staggering. This would suggest organized, knowledgeable visitors in North America long before Columbus. People with the resources to build underground systems, and the determination to hide something of immense importance. Oak Island may not just be rewriting treasure lore. It may be rewriting history itself. Rick stared at the screen, completely silent. Marty couldn't stand still, pacing back and forth, his hands clenched tight. This wasn't buried pirate treasure. It wasn't stolen gold. It was something far bigger. What they were looking at felt like an archive of forgotten knowledge, a sealed record of history that was never meant to survive, and yet somehow did. But now comes the real question. What do they do next? They've located the chamber. They've seen inside it. They've crossed a threshold no one else in centuries ever reached. But opening it fully could cause irreversible damage. The scrolls could disintegrate the moment they're exposed to air. The manuscript could crumble at a single touch, and even worse, disturbing the structure might destabilize the entire chamber, bringing it all down in seconds. Are they missing something critical? A final safeguard? A last trap? The team believes this discovery is too significant to rush, so for now, they've made a decision that might frustrate some people. They sealed it back up. Experts are being called in. internationally recognized archaeologists, preservation scientists, specialists trained to handle fragile relics that have survived centuries underground. Because whatever rests inside that chamber doesn't belong to one team or one island. It belongs to history. And if what they're seeing is authentic, it could force us to rethink everything we believe about early exploration and ancient connections across oceans. They found the chamber, but in many ways, that was the easy part. The real mystery has only just begun. What's written inside that manuscript? Who built a structure so advanced and so carefully hidden? Was it truly the Knights Templar? Or does this story stretch back even further into the shadows of forgotten civilizations? Tell me what you think in the comments. I want to hear your theory. And if you're following this journey, make sure you like and subscribe, because the next chapter of this discovery could change history forever.